Are you trying to conceive? When you're in the process of baby making, you don't want to take a prenatal that's designed for a woman who's pregnant. They get expensive and have ingredients you don't need quite yet. Theranatal Core is a prenatal focused on women who are trying to conceive. It contains the active form of folic acid, folate, as well as 2,000 IUs of vitamin D. Also, it doesn't have any expensive ingredients that you don't need until you're pregnant. Theralogix' prenatal Theranatal Core is especially for women with PCOS who are in the process of baby making. Check the link in the description for our 15% off code.
All right, babe, let's take a moment to correct our posture, take a deep breath, and have some pure spectrum CBD.
Sure. Hey sisters, CBD can help with acne, inflammation, anxiety, sleep, and so many other PCOS symptoms. I personally take it throughout the day to help keep my stress hormones nice and low. Not to mention, I sleep like a baby every night and I don't wake up fatigued at all.
Now open your mouth, please, so I can give you a serving.
Ah.
Now hold it for 60 seconds. Head over to purespectrumcbd.com and use the code THESISTERHOOD, one word, for 10% off.
Can I stop now?
Nope, you got 30 more seconds.
Doctor said you got PCOS. Now go on, girl, just lose some weight. Till I took the symptoms into my own hands and reversed them naturally. So I became a dietitian to help my sisters feel the best they've ever felt. Take a step in my direction if you wanna prove them wrong and take control of yourself. Join a sister and a mister.
All right. A 3, a 2, a 1, let's go. Welcome, sisters, to another episode of the podcast. And today you might be seeing us record for the last time in our living room.
Yes. Welcome, ladies.
That's right. I mean, we're not stopping the podcast. Don't worry. We'll be continuing the podcast forever. But we are changing where we regularly record the podcast. We've been thinking for a while now, we need to expand our space a little bit, make recording a bit easier, so that we don't have to take out all the equipment for like half an hour to 45 minutes to set it up in the living room. So we are thinking of exchanging our office and bedroom. So we're going to basically put everything that's in the office into our bedroom and everything that's in the bedroom into our office.
I'm so excited.
I know, me too.
It's going to look so cool.
Yeah.
I already know what I'm getting for the wall and the backdrop and like how it's going to look. And
yeah, Talian and her mom and her sister have been like looking into different like greenery to put around the neon sign.
This neon sign here.
Yeah, the neon sign that you always see in our videos. They're thinking of how to like make it look nicer with like green vines around it, I guess.
Yes, Michael's.
Oh my God.
You know that store, Michael's, with the crafts.
Yeah, and we're going to get like a bar table with like some stools so we can like sit on a table.
So we're not sinking into this couch and blending in with it. I mean, look at my sweater. It's literally like the color of the couch. And
so true.
It's so bad. So
yeah, like it's kind of hard to record on the couch because like it's like a couch and it sucks you in.
Yeah.
So like your throat, like the way your head is like, it's like your throat closes up. So when you're talking, it doesn't feel like a show. It feels like you're just sitting on the couch talking with some friends.
Yeah.
Kind of like mumbling to yourself sometimes. But like if we were to have like a nice table to sit, look at a camera, I think physically we'd be more energized.
Right.
To like,
And we can make more content too. Like if the lights are already set up and the studio's ready to go, I can just hop in there, record a YouTube video, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's not like a huge task to like get everything together.
Exactly.
So hopefully this is the last time we record on this couch, ladies.
Yeah. Yeah. If you see us back here, that means our plans failed.
Out. The bed didn't fit in the office.
Oh yeah. We'll see though. We'll see how that goes.
We measured it. It should.
Yeah. It'll all be done over this weekend. I'm very excited. We'll see how it goes.
Yes.
All right. So today's topic though will be about caffeine. Specifically, we'll talk about coffee because of course coffee has the highest amount of caffeine for most people. And then we'll talk about how caffeine affects women with PCOS and much more. Maybe I should give my own experience.
Tell us about your coffee experience when we first met.
Yeah, like honestly, I don't think, and Tanya would agree with me here, I think that caffeine would or can affect almost everybody in a negative way. especially if you're having too much. I'll give you guys an example. So for 10 years, since I was like the age of 20 until I was 29, I was driving 3 hours total a day. So I would drive an hour and a half one way, an hour and a half the other way to basically go to work. And at the same time, I was studying as a mechanical engineer. So I was working at an engineering place, driving at the same time, going to school at the same time. So as you can tell, I needed a lot of stimulation with coffee. So I was drinking, I would say like average 3 to 4. On bad days, I would be drinking like 5, 6. And these weren't like regular coffees. Like I was making my own coffee.
Pour overs.
Yeah, pour over,
things.
grinding the coffee at the same time, pouring it over, and then doing things like espresso shots. Like I would add an espresso shot into my coffee, into my regular coffee.
Who does that?
I think it's called like a red eye. Like that's like the nickname for it because it has so much caffeine. What would happen to me? So I would get so jittery. I would get shaky. I would be working and I would have like panic attacks. I would get super nervous about certain, if I'm like working and if it's a high stress situation, my heart rate would be off the charts. Like it was really weird for me because it's like I'm in a situation that I'm used to, but the coffee is making me really panicky, you know? And then at nights, I wouldn't be able to sleep because I had to wake up at 5:30 a.m. or 5. Oh my God, I'm getting like PTSD. My alarm was every day at 5:15 a.m. and I would snooze it until like 5:25. But anyways, I would be waking up really early. So at night, it was very important for me to fall asleep. But I couldn't. Like I would try to go to sleep by 11 and I would stay awake until 11:30, 12, 12:15. And it was the coffee. Like imagine having that much amount of caffeine. We'll talk about this later. But it takes about 6 hours for 1 cup of coffee to basically be out of your system, you know, out of your bloodstream. We'll go more into details, but basically, I was going through a cycle of needing coffee constantly, but 2, not getting the actual energy I wanted. Like I would drink a cup of coffee, half an hour later, I would be crashing again. I would be tired. And it wasn't really that the coffee that I needed. The coffee was ruining my body, like my rhythm. It was ruining my energy levels. The way I had
no rhythm back then.
Yeah, like I was like a zombie that was just barely lasting on that last cup, and it wasn't really sustainable. So, I mean, that's my experience. I hope you guys can kind of see some of the negative aspects of it right there. But maybe some of you can relate, and we'll talk about it now. I mean,
the moral of the story is, if you are struggling with a lot of stress, a lot of tasks, a lot of different things going on in your life, there is no solution like coffee, a cup of coffee to fix it all. You have to take a look at your life, take a look at what you can do to resolve it, or how long is it going to last? Is it temporary? Is it long term?
Yeah.
You know, because if it's temporary, it's temporary. But if it's long term, I mean, this was like a 10-year thing.
Yeah.
You know, and coffee was certainly not the solution.
I could feel like my stress levels over the years becoming a bit worse. I could feel my adrenal glands not being able to basically control my body's hormones as well. I could just feel and it wasn't just the coffee, to be honest. It was also a lack of sleep, which made me want to have coffee, and we'll talk about that later. Mm-hmm. So it was like a whole like I'll be honest, it wasn't just coffee. It was like my lack of sleep, me constantly driving, having so many responsibilities, and the coffee. Yeah. What I thought the coffee would help me do all those things better, it was actually the opposite.
Exactly.
So to talk about some research, there are some studies that I'm sure many of you have heard that coffee can be good for you. There are a lot of studies showing that it has beneficial antioxidant. There's also studies showing that it can help cognitively, you know, like help you give a brain boost kind of a thing. But many of these things are very individual, and it depends person to person. So for some, while it may have those antioxidant effects, for others, it can increase stress, cortisol levels, and have a worse impact than the antioxidant positive impact.
Positivity,
yeah.
So your ability to break down coffee is individual to you. Some people are more sensitive, some people aren't as sensitive. It just depends on your ability to withstand high stress hormones.
Yeah.
And so that depends on the person. And we know that women with PCOS, we struggle, many of us, with cortisol dysregulation, stress hormone dysregulation. So maybe regularly drinking caffeine isn't going to work out for us. So how do you know if coffee is good for you? Well, you have to ask yourself a few questions. How do you feel when you drink it? Are you focused and clear, or anxious and jittery?
Like you're having a panic attack. Like you're looking at the screen and for some reason you're having a panic attack about reading your paper maybe.
Yeah, the smallest thing is turning into the biggest deal. You can't handle anything. So if you're focused and clear, okay. How long does it take for you to go to sleep? 15 minutes? That's good. Okay. Do you stay asleep? Yes. Okay. Do you get up naturally or with an alarm? If you're waking up naturally, that's great. Do you depend on coffee for energy every day? Yes or no? So these are all signs to figure out if it's working for you. So if all of these are good and okay for you, then I guess a cup of coffee won't do any harm.
Yeah.
But if you're not checking off these boxes, going to sleep in 15 minutes, staying asleep, waking up naturally, not being ripped out of bed, do you depend on it for energy? If these are all a no, then it's not for you.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think those are great bullet points to consider, like especially the sleep, because we've talked about it in the past, and especially Dr. Phyllis Gersh talks about it in her book, PCOS SOS, where she says our body's circadian rhythm is so important to the balancing of our hormones and everything basically in our body, the way our pancreas works, the way our liver works, and the way for women your ovaries work, and so much more. So your circadian rhythm, if it's affected by coffee, it's going to have a big impact on everything else.
Yeah.
So that's why it's really important to consider, like, are you able to sleep at night? Is the coffee keeping you awake? Because studies show that a cup of coffee will last in your bloodstream for 6 hours. When I say coffee, I mean the caffeine. The caffeine will last in your bloodstream for 6 hours from the last time you drank that cup. So if you drank the cup at 3 o'clock, it's still going to be in your system until 9. And who knows, even by 10, 11, how much, if it's completely out. And the same thing, or it's like if you're drinking in the morning, that might be better, because if you drink it at 9 a.m., it should be completely out of your system by the time you go to sleep. So these are some things to consider. Like if you're having late night cups of coffee, or late days, maybe at 3 p.m., maybe cut that one out and keep the one that you're drinking at 9 a.m., see how everything changes.
Right. So you might be thinking tea is a better option. As it turns out, I looked up, how much caffeine is in tea versus coffee. And black tea has 46 milligrams, whereas in a cup of instant coffee has 20 to 30 milligrams.
Wow.
So instant coffee is less than black tea.
Yeah. Of course, it also matters how much instant coffee you put, because it's just a bottle. You can put as much as you want. So yeah, like I'm sure
saying a serving.
Yeah, one serving, and it might depend on the brand too. But yeah.
But when you look at a shot of espresso, that's way more. So a shot of espresso is like 180 to 250 milligrams of caffeine. Or, you see people like walking out of Starbucks with like a venti cup of coffee. That's 475 milligrams of caffeine.
Oh my God. Starbucks is the worst when it comes to the caffeine levels, not to mention the sugars. So like Starbucks, I think they like add caffeine into their coffees, because they did like a test comparing different coffees, and they show that Starbucks had the most caffeine. So like they put like caffeine steroids into their coffee, I think.
My gosh.
I don't know. Like it seems like they have a lot of caffeine in their coffee, which is that's their consumer base. They're obviously going to want to give as much as they can to their consumer base, because it's interesting too, like caffeine is like a drug, right? So I don't know. Well, the more you give, the more they're going to come back. I don't know. And then the other thing is Starbucks also has so much sugary coffee drinks.
Oh,
a Frappuccino. Oh, man. When I was a kid, a caramel Frappuccino was like ice cream, right?
Yeah.
It was just like the best thing to eat when you're a kid.
Except you don't know that it's ice cream because it's with a straw. So you're like, it's a drink.
Yeah, you're like, I'm an adult. I'm just drinking coffee.
Yeah.
And you realize it has like 30, 40 grams of sugar with the caramel, with the added, syrups, all that stuff. It's not something I would recommend.
It's a PCOS disaster.
Yeah.
So, okay.
I love this episode. So I can go on and on about every single thing you talk about, babe. By the way, just to talk about espresso, I think you are right about the caffeine levels. But I think like a shot of espresso has like 70 milligrams of caffeine around there. So if you do have a double shot, yes, it will be a lot more than a cup of coffee. But yeah.
Okay. So
right.
what is caffeine really doing, like physiologically? You know, you're probably wondering like caffeine, but like, let's get down to it. What is it actually doing? It's a stimulant, and it stimulates your body to produce more stress hormones by blocking the receptor site for adenosine, which is a neurotransmitter that's important for sleep. And I mean, here's the problem. Like if you just block this neurotransmitter, obviously something else is going to go wrong. So, you know, you're blocking this neurotransmitter and now you've raised cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine levels, all these stress hormones, and it can have a really damaging effect.
Yeah.
Because adenosine is calming. It helps us sleep. It makes us a little drowsy. So that's why. So now you have this overproduction of stress hormones. And when you have a chronic overproduction of stress hormones, you can eventually develop adrenal fatigue. We've talked about this in other podcast episodes, but this is one of the PCOS types where stress goes unmanaged for a really long time. And it can come from physiological stress, psychological stress. It can come from foods that are inflammatory that are triggering stress. It can come from too much caffeine, you know, and an imbalance in lifestyle and depending on caffeine for energy. So eventually you pump out so much of your stress hormones that your body isn't able to produce the right amount at the right times. And now we have dysregulation and you're constantly fatigued. You're waking up fatigued, you're going to sleep, or you're not able to go to sleep because your cortisol is high when it should be low. It's a mess.
Yeah, and the melatonin isn't produced enough.
Exactly.
Because there's that hormone
your
dysregulation.
cortisol is high and now you can't sleep. Now you really depend on coffee. So I mean, you want to like take a good look at that before just drinking caffeine to just like substitute this problem to just like, okay, well, I'm so tired, coffee. Well, think like, why are we tired? What's going on hormonally?
Yeah.
You know?
And just to go back to the circadian rhythm, the two hormones that are super important for your circadian rhythm are melatonin and cortisol. So if these two things are dysregulated, and especially if caffeine is, I'm going to try to say this word. If coffee is
exacerbated.
How dare you? Exacerbating. It sounds like I'm saying something else.
Exacerbating.
The issue, then that dysregulation is only going to get worse.
Exactly. So when cortisol is too high, you know, it's going to deprioritize the production of essential hormones for ovulation, because your body thinks you're under stress. So like, why would you produce the hormones necessary to ovulate and bring a baby into this world? That's stressful, right? So that's why when people say, oh, just relax, you'll get pregnant. Like, okay, I don't like that response. But the point is like, you want to lower that cortisol, because too much cortisol is going to deprioritize progesterone, all the hormones necessary to ovulate. And it'll also deprioritize your immune system. So you'll get colds more, you'll get sick more, and you'll be more prone to injuries. I mean, you're not nourishing your body if your cortisol is high all the time. And drinking that coffee every day is just going to keep it high.
Yeah.
So it's a mess.
Yeah.
And not just that, it's going to impact your blood sugar. And don't get me started on that and insulin resistance, because that's like a whole other episode. Cortisol is going to make your blood sugar your body overproduce blood glucose, and then you're going to make high insulin levels. And here we go with the insulin resistance. So it goes hand in hand, ladies.
Yeah, all of this. I love the immune system point too, because again, if you're not getting the proper regulation of these hormones with your sleep and everything, your immune system is going to be weaker as a result. So if you're getting constant colds, it can literally be related to the fact that maybe you're not getting enough sleep, to the caffeine that's adding to the issue, and so much more. So great points, babe.
Yeah, and you know, many of women with PCOS are struggling with like acne and hair loss as well. And actually making high stress hormones like adrenaline can make us overproduce DHEA, which I talk about a lot because this acts the same way as testosterone. It gets in those oil glands. It causes acne, cystic acne. It gets in the hair follicles. It causes the hair to fall out or fuzzy hair to turn into dark hair, facial hair. This is DHEA.
Yeah.
So, whether you have high testosterone or high DHEA, it's going to look the same. The pathways are different. So it could be because of high stress, you have high DHEA. It could be because of insulin resistance, you have high testosterone. Either way, it's going to give you the same results of hirsutism.
Love it.
Not ideal.
I don't love what you said. I love the way you explained it.
Exactly.
Just to make it
I
clear.
like to break it down so that you can really see like what's happening.
Talian's breaking down is one of the best in the industry, one might say.
Stop.
And I am the best at regurgitating
Regurgitate.
What is up with my vocabulary today?
It's the couch. We're blaming the couch for everything.
But yeah, I am a master regurgitator of what Talian says.
Regurgitator.
I don't care. I'm going to say it the way I say it. And you're the best.
What was I saying? So sisters who slowly metabolize caffeine will have these problems, including blood sugar problems. So, if you have like a combination of insulin resistance and like stress problems, then caffeine is not a good idea.
Yeah. And of course, everyone can individually break down caffeine in a different way. So we all have different genes that produce the enzyme to break down caffeine. Some people have more of that gene and some don't. So caffeine would stay in their body longer and contribute to chronically high stress hormones. So if you're one of those people who maybe is realizing that, hey, when I drink coffee, the side effects aren't going away for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Then it's possible you may be one of those people that doesn't have the proper enzymes to break down coffee as easily. So this is one thing important point to consider. And
50% of the population has that problem.
Oh, okay. That was the next point. Yeah, 50%. Yeah. So if there's two people in the room, maybe you're the one that doesn't have that. That's the fact. Yeah, 50%.
Yeah. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So, I mean, of course, some people can handle a little bit, but we suggest just skipping right past it because of already having insulin and cortisol problems.
Sure. Yeah. Or like just gradually decreasing it and seeing how it's impacting you.
Exactly.
And
if
this
it's
can
helping,
take,
it's not.
And it's not just like one day and see how you feel. It's going to be like a series of like days and weeks to see how it's, because like this dysregulation that we're talking about, you can't do a complete 180 in one day if you quit caffeine. You have to give it time for the body to sink back, with the proper sleep, with cutting out the caffeine and things like that. So
remember when you cut out caffeine?
Oh my God.
I
cut out caffeine like cold turkey one time, and I had like some sort of a systemic body shock or something. I was stuck in bed. I think I also got a fever at the time. So I don't know if these two were connected. But I basically like my bones were shaking. Like I could feel my bones aching. Like
your hips.
Yeah, my hips specifically, like I couldn't get out of bed. And this is around the time when I was drinking like 4 or 5 cups of coffee a day to go along with my schedule.
Cold brews and pour overs.
I know. And I don't know, like I didn't drink it for one day and my body was in a complete state of shock. So, and like to be honest, like now I drink maximum 2 cups of coffee a day. So like personally, when I wake up in the morning, I have 1 cup of coffee after breakfast. And then usually like around 12 p.m. after lunch, if I feel the need, I'll make myself a weaker cup of coffee. So like our coffee machine has a setting, 1 through 10, let's just say. My first cup of coffee, I put it to like the 7 strength. And then my second cup of coffee, I put it to like 4 or 5. So the second cup of coffee is a bit less. And so for me, it's 2 max a day. But of course, everyone's different. Personally, I feel I should be totally okay with 1 cup of coffee. But to be completely honest, I love the taste of coffee, and maybe I am still a little bit addicted.
I mean, I don't drink it at all. Maybe I should say something. I don't drink any coffee.
Yeah.
Everything decaf. I used to not be such a stickler about it, but now I am because I know the effects that it can have on my body.
Yeah.
And I don't feel any reason to like have to drink coffee. Like, of course, it's a great little boost, but so is a walk or like taking a little break, for me.
Well,
so I can just
Yeah.
the substitute for that.
No, that's great. And if you're drinking if you're drinking coffee, let's say you're drinking 3 cups of coffee, try cutting that down to 2 for a couple days, maybe a week. See how you feel. Cut it down to 1. See how you feel. Maybe cut the strength of that 1 cup of coffee in half, and then gradually see if you can get off of it, or just stick to that 1 cup of coffee. If you're feeling a lot better, if you're seeing everything is working good now, maybe that 1 cup of coffee is the perfect amount for you. It just takes time and experimenting to see how much is exactly right for you.
Right.
And
that brings me to our last point.
Birth control.
So we've talked about how insulin resistance can affect our ability to, regulate our blood sugar while drinking coffee at the same time. We've talked about stress hormones, and now birth control. So many sisters are put on birth control, and it makes us less able to metabolize caffeine. One study looked at 2 groups. One was on birth control and one wasn't. And they saw almost a double in the time it took to metabolize caffeine in the group that was on birth control.
So the group that took birth control took double the time to actually metabolize the caffeine?
Yeah.
Wow.
10 hours. Whereas the other normal group, 6 hours.
There we go. So that's what I was talking about. It takes about 6 hours to get it out of your system. But
if you're on birth control, 10 hours.
That's insane.
So if you're on birth control and genetically you slowly metabolize caffeine, coffee is not ideal. Like, let's say you have a 9 a.m. cup of coffee, it could still be affecting you when you're trying to sleep at night 10, 12 hours later.
Yeah.
So think about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to make one note too. Like, we hate to come on to the podcast and say, don't do this or don't do that, because we feel sometimes maybe we're
it's a blanket statement. Like, there's so many people
not
listening.
even that. Like, maybe we're the party poopers, but we're just the messengers. We're just the messengers of the information that's available online, the research that's available online. So we hope that you don't take it the wrong way that we're coming onto the podcast to tell you what not to do.
Yeah.
All we want to do is give you the information, the research, and honestly, in many cases, the truth that's out there that maybe you have not heard. So that's the whole point of this episode, is not to scare you. If you're drinking a cup of coffee, we don't want you to spit it out.
Don't spit it out. You're fine.
This is just to inform you and make you more aware of coffee and its impact, so that maybe you can make some changes in your lifestyle that could benefit you further or more.
Yeah, there's so much. Oh, sorry. What were you saying?
No, that's it.
There's so much you can do instead to give you energy. For example, having a high protein breakfast, 35 to 40 grams of protein in the morning, low sugar, get a smoothie going with not a lot of fruit in it, mostly protein powder and, high protein dairy-free milk.
Yeah.
That's great for giving you energy in the morning, making sure that you're exercising, that's not pumping cortisol all over the place, doing your slow weighted workouts.
Yes.
Going gluten and dairy-free, so your stress hormones and inflammation, insulin resistance aren't dysregulated, because that can also affect your mood and fatigue and energy level. If your blood sugar is super low or super high, you can get tired. You have to learn like how to eat for your body and what to do, and not just rely on caffeine to solve the problem of fatigue.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're not trying to be a party pooper. Just swap out the coffee with a cup of Ovacetol, have a high protein breakfast, and we're good to go.
Yeah, and really, if you're with caffeine, just try, as Ty mentioned, like, look at the underlying issues, see the root causes. Maybe it's your breakfast. Like Ty said right now, high protein to carb ratio for breakfast can give you a lot more sustainable energy. So maybe if you're making a certain breakfast, that could be what's impacting you to have lower energy levels throughout the day. So look into those kinds of things, your diet, your lifestyle, and then and just like gradually reduce your caffeine intake. Like, let's remember that caffeine is a drug. It's not like a drug, but it's not found in our bodies. It's what's the word? Not synthetic, but it's not found naturally in our bodies. It's something that we introduce it into our bodies.
Right.
So our bodies don't need it. So what happens is we just get addicted to caffeine. So with that being said, try to gradually reduce your intake. If you're having 3 cups, reduce to 2 for 1 week, and then to 1 the next week. See how you feel, and then modify based on that.
Yes.
All right.
Well, that concludes our coffee talk.
Almost. because we did ask you sisters on Instagram. If you don't follow us on Instagram, it's pcos.weightloss. We do daily stories and posts there about PCOS, of course. But we asked you sisters on Instagram, direct message, how does caffeine affect your PCOS? And these are some of the responses that we got.
A, it gives me more energy. Okay, wait, hold on. Let me try to explain.
Is this a poll?
This was a poll.
Oh, I'm so sorry. This is a poll.
Yes.
Yeah, please explain the poll, babe.
So basically, I put 3 answers and you guys voted which one. So how does caffeine affect your PCOS? The first answer was it gives me more energy and I feel better. 810 people voted yes.
Nice.
The next one, it gives me energy, but then I crash and at night I can't sleep. 802 people said that this is what happens to them.
Almost the same
amount. It gives me anxiety. 1,097 people said that.
So majority says
vote.
Yeah, and the interesting thing actually is if you look at it logically, there's 3 answers. 2 of them being kind of negative, right? Because it gives me energy, but then I crash and then I'm not. So then dominantly the answers were kind of negative. Right?
Yeah.
Because 1,097 people said it gives them anxiety, 802 people said they crash and then can't sleep, while only 810 said it gives me more energy and I feel better. So that's like the minority there.
That just goes to show that so many people that have PCOS that are following us that took this poll are having problems metabolizing caffeine.
Yeah.
Because it's giving them anxiety, it's staying in their body, they can't sleep as well. I mean, that could be anyone. You'll really have to figure out if this is you.
Yeah.
So that you can, think about cutting caffeine and improving your lifestyle.
Absolutely. All right. We hope you enjoyed this topic about PCOS and caffeine. We're not done yet. We're going to play a voicemail left by a fellow sister on our hotline. If you're not aware, we do have a hotline that you can call and leave your messages on. You can even just text us there if you have a question as well, but we love hearing your voice. The phone number is 1-833-ASK-PCOS. So 1-833-ASK-PCOS. And our next caller is here.
My name is Kim. Hi, my name is Kim, and I suffer from hair loss. What I believe is due to having PCOS, but I've had the hair loss way before I was diagnosed. So along with the hair loss, especially like in the spots where it's thin and even like bald, I have like a soreness, and sometimes it gets inflamed and itchy. So I'm just wondering, is that normal, a normal thing to happen with someone who has hair loss due to PCOS? Or is it more of like a unique experience that I'm having with mine? Thank you very much.
Great question. I'm sure many sisters struggle with this because PCOS has an inflammatory component to it, right? A lot of us have a lot of inflammation. And with that, we can see that inflammation come out on our skin, not just our digestion, our mood, things like that, but we can visibly see it sometimes. So sometimes going gluten and dairy free can really help with skin conditions. But that being said, you should definitely consult a doctor. It can be a multitude of different things. It could be I don't know what it could be, but it could be anything. You should definitely consult a doctor about it if you're having like a skin condition. But also keep in the back of your mind that gluten and dairy and inflammatory foods like this can affect the health of your skin and your hair and your scalp and dandruff and oil production too. So when you think about oil production, we always talk about how inflammatory foods can cause inflammation in the oil glands, which overproduce oil and cause cystic acne. Not just that, it can cause, overproduction of oil in our hair and irritation, things like this.
Yeah.
So consider going gluten and dairy free and definitely consult a doctor.
Yeah. And also can't like testosterone build up on the root of the hair too, which could maybe contributing to her.
Exactly. DHT and it can make your hair fall out. It can cause irritation where the hair is falling out.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And if you want to hear our episode about hair loss and reversing hair loss with PCOS, we just recorded one a few weeks ago. So please go ahead and check out that episode for the full details on how to reverse PCOS, hair loss, and more. And we hope that answer was helpful.
Yes.
And to the last part of the episode, our favorite part, one might say, the wins of the week. This is where we share fellow sisters' success with PCOS and let you sisters know that there's absolutely a way to reverse your symptoms and basically take control of your body.
Yes. I'll start with the first one. This one's from Instagram, Stephanie Ortega. She says, "Thank you so much. I have been trying seriously on my gluten-free and dairy-free diet since January 1st, 2021. I have been incorporating slow-weighted workouts and light cardio, mostly on the elliptical. I am proud to say I lost 5 pounds since January 1st. And more importantly, I feel good. I'm not tired anymore when I wake up. Thank you so much. I love your podcast. Tell Sirak I said hello."
Oh, hello, Stephanie.
Hey, girl.
Hey. Well, congrats to you. So happy for you. I mean, you've
Yeah.
only started January 1st and already seeing all these great results. And
After like 2 weeks, because this was sent a few weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. This episode could be listened later on.
Exactly. So
yeah, when we're recording it, it's only the 17th of January. So this is great.
so exciting. She also shares a picture of her Ovacitol.
Actually, it's the 21st. I can't believe I just skipped 4 days.
Yeah.
But yeah, great job, Stephanie. I love how she's already feeling better. Like she even said, most importantly, I feel good. And I love
Everyone
that.
always said, they're like, I lost 5 pounds, but I feel so good.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not just like I lost 5 pounds and I'm starving, you know, and I'm
that's like-
miserable.
Yeah, and that's like the dehibilate. Again, here you go, still like with another word. Here, that's like the most debilitating.
Debilitating.
Okay, whatever. Part of PCOS is that like you don't feel good a lot of times. The systemic inflammation, the stress, and even when you're trying to lose
Yes.
weight, you're feeling all this. It's like so
Hormonal
overwhelming. So
tornado.
yeah, so happy for you, Stephanie. Great job. All right, and then the next sister is Samantha Marie. She says, "I lost 4 pounds and it hasn't even been a full week gluten and dairy free. I've been struggling to lose 1 for months. I feel amazing and
Wow.
energized. Normally, I wake up sluggish, achy, bloated, and tired. I'm so excited for this journey." Woo!
I'm so excited to hear that.
Yeah.
I love hearing when someone says, I've been struggling to lose 1 pound, but I just lost 4 in
Yeah.
a week, you know?
That just shows the
Impact
Yeah.
that inflammation and high insulin levels are
Yeah.
causing. And it's not just how many carbs you're eating. It's not just, you know, all of that. It's what you're eating and how it's affecting your blood sugar and
Yeah.
how much insulin is spiking when you eat dairy and how inflammation is being caused by gluten. Like, look at the effect that it has when you cut it out.
seriously.
Well,
All
this
right.
was amazing.
Love the wins. This was a great episode. We hope that when you hear us next time, that we'll be in our new office, aka our old bedroom.
Yes.
How about we just get rid of a bedroom, babe, and we just make a second office, and then we'll just sleep in the living room?
That's what, you know, I
Isn't
was
that what
thinking of
living
that.
is for?
We'll just blow out the wall in between the office and
Yeah.
the bedroom.
Yeah, it's not like we're renting this place, you know. I'm sure the homeowners will be okay with it, but yeah, hopefully next
Turn
time.
their 2-bedroom into a 1.
Yeah. Hopefully the next time you see us, though, we'll be in the new office recording our podcast episode there. But until then, thank you so much for listening, and we'll be back next time.
See you soon, sisters.
Bye.
Bye. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast, you have to come check out the Sisterhood. It's my monthly membership site where sisters just like you are learning how to move through the stages of PCOS. From stage 1, cold and alone at the doctor's office, to stage 5, nailing the PCOS lifestyle, gluten and dairy free. Get ready to finally feel in control of your body again.